Good morning. Now, I wanted to put together a quick clip to talk to you about exactly the same workout that you've been doing your entire goddamn life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Your initial thought is, Pete, I don't do the same workouts. You know, I'm always changing it up. I'm always adapting. I'm always looking for that next thing, that next level to challenge me. And that's the whole point. You've been looking something to challenge you. Now, hear me right. This is a good thing. Every single workout ever created, let alone every one you've ever done, every single one created has had one thing in common: progressive overload. This is the mecca. This is the all-seeing, all-knowing secret to how we improve physically, no matter what your dimension, no matter what metric you're trying to increase. This is the one we're always going for. Now let's break it down. It's a gradual increase in weight, volume, intensity, frequency. No matter what the metric is, all of these are designed to achieve a specific goal. It's usually based on a marginal gain. Now, there's so many ways to do this. It might be changing the time, changing the intensity, changing how long you're having a break for, the weight that you're lifting. Do you know what I mean? The speed at which you lift it, the distance over which you drag it, the height over which you jump. This is all about progressive overload on the muscles. Why do we do it? Because we want to get better. We want to improve. Doesn't mean you're not happy with where you are, but it means that you're always seeking that improvement. We are success machines. We want to get progressively better. That's what we're here for. It's not about being better than somebody else. It's about being the best version of yourself. So that moment when you're in the workout and you've got that holy bloody hell, this is stressful, you're applying that stress to your body. The way we're getting that progressive overload and that progressive incremental development in the body is because we're punting down our gas. Gas. What am I talking about with gas? General adaptation syndrome. You may or may not have heard of this before, but it probably means that mentally or physically, you know, about halfway through the workout towards the end, you're going to peak through one of the stages of the general adaptation syndrome. And this is the bit we're always hunting. Now, let's break it down. There are three aspects to the general adaptation syndrome, and they are: number one, shock phase. Now, we all go into this shock phase at some point. We might enter it straight in the beginning of the workout. It's usually where everybody hits it. We jump in straight in. We have an immediate reduction in performance. We feel that slight overload in the system. You know, you start out on a run. You sort of run hard for the first 200-300 meters, and then you go, holy hell. And you feel your body run out of perhaps the anaerobic energy, and it starts tapping into the aerobic energy. And that's when we typically know that we are hunting something to make ourselves a little bit fitter. Now, the greater the stress and the stimulus applied to the body, our ability to induce that shock means that the first session's always going to be the hardest. Yeah. So how your body reacts will determine which phase you drop into next. Your shock phase is the first one you'll hit into. The second phase that we're always hunting down is the adaptation phase. So this is where your body gets into a peak state where it knows how much it's able to tolerate in terms of stress and how much you can push yourself. But inside, there's a whole different things of biological going on. Your physiological reactions to this from a hormonal perspective is where the adaptation happens. Now, the nervous system and the muscle tissues all drive together, and they make you feel stronger, fitter, and a better version of yourself the next day. Now, it's worth noting in these adaptations are unique to each individual. And again, the whole aspect of biological individuality does play a big role. Some people recover quickly. Some people bounce back quicker than others. It's all personal, okay? But entering into that adaptation phase is exactly what we're looking for. Third phase is the exhaustion phase. Now, this is where things have gone way too far. You know, we've gone past the alarm phase. We've ignored all of the symptoms, and we've unfortunately dipped in to the element of exhaustion. Now, this is where the aspect of overtraining comes in. People have the concept that they've done too much, and it is absolutely possible to do too much. Yes, you'll still adapt, and yes, you will still recover, but it's not sustainable. You can't enter this exhaustion phase every single week. You can't enter this exhaustion phase on a regular basis because you are driving your body too low and the stimulus is too great. Now, maybe the distance was too long, the pace was too fast, you couldn't sustain the weight, and you went too heavy. Whatever the reason, you'll feel beat up. You know, your body drops down, it recovers from all of its adrenaline and cortisol secretion and all that norepinephrine, and it hits through the floor and goes down. This is where we can start getting poorly. This phase you should never go into, and it's about an awareness aspect of knowing your limitations and where is a good place for you to pitch your workout at, and all this comes from experience. Now, as we're moving through these 3 phases, and again trying to avoid that exhaustion phase, what your body's trying to consistently do is take you back to a position of homeostasis. Now, what on earth is homeostasis? Now, effectively, it's the regulation system that your body uses inside. It wants to stay, wherever possible, in its normal, stable, internal state. Now, it can seem uber complicated when we start using words like this, but don't allow it to panic you. This is a perfectly normal thing that everybody goes through. It's not specific to high-level athletes or anything like that. Everybody goes through the adaptation process to seek this place of homeostasis again. Now, the process is where the body systems are kept in certain limits, and it has various different feedback mechanisms that your body interprets to bring it back to that position. Now, it's important for you to develop the ability to distinguish when the negative feedback from a positive feedback, knowing when pain and stimulation is healthy and we're secreting all of the right hormones, and at what point have we gone too far and homeostasis is no longer in that balance and we've entered into that exhaustion phase. Okay? Now, the human body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells that are reborn every single second, every millisecond of the day. Cells are dying, cells are being reborn, and that's perfectly healthy. Okay? Especially if you do regular exercises, you'll be accelerating this process, so it's supposed to happen. Now, all of these work together in maintenance to try and support the entire organism. So white cells, tissues, organs, everything, doing every different function, they are there to meet your body's metabolic needs and maintain a consistent and constant internal environment where your body can feed itself with oxygen, nutrients, and removing all the waste and everything like that, okay? It's necessary to do it, so don't be worried about homeostasis. It's all about stability, balance, or let's use the word equilibrium within the cell or the body. It's on all cells. It happens in animals and everything like that. It's not unique to us. So in any organism, it's its ability to keep a constant internal environment. It's an important characteristic, so don't be worried about it. Stabilizing those conditions as they change inside the body, especially as we go through things like exercise, it's really, really important that that system effectively regulates our internal process. Now, you heard me speak about your endocrine system. Now, what on earth is that? This plays a really important role in homeostasis because hormones regulate the activity of the body cells. So there's so many hormones out there. They're not just associated with the female population. For example, the stimulus either causes an increase or a decrease in the amount of hormones that are secreted. And again, this is not specific to any sex or anything like that. We all go through it. We have different levels of hormones depending on our bio-individuality, but effectively, we're all hunting this down. So the response to stimulus changes the internal conditions, and itself becomes a new stimulus. Now, this is self-perpetuating, and this self-adjusting mechanism is called that feedback regulation that the body uses to stay in homeostasis. So it occurs when the response to the stimulus has an effect from that original stimulus. So, for example, a negative feedback occurs when your response to the stimulus reduces the original stimulus, whereas a positive feedback is the opposite, if that makes sense. So it occurs when a response to the stimulus increases. Make sense? Now, as all of these systems collide and work in balance and equilibrium together, what you need to work on yourself when doing any workout, because remember, we've said every single workout is exactly the same, and that it's always driving to stimulate the stress to drive gas, that general adaptation syndrome, okay? So what you need to do is work on mastering your own stress. Now, again, we're not just talking about the mental. That's a whole other subject where we get into the benefits of exercise that mentally help us. Now, we're just looking at managing the stress physiologically, okay? So you need to apply small, effective doses, and even to a moderate dose, and stimulate that adaptation. Remember, large doses are going to kill and send you backwards in your adaptation side, okay? Because not every single form of stimulation is healthy for us, especially if you want to do it on a daily basis, where when we're talking about habits, because we're habitual creatures, we want to be able to do these things, our exercise, our workouts on a daily basis, so it needs to be sustainable. But there is a big thought process and a big amount of truth in the fact that, and we use the terminology every single day, finish the sentence for me, what doesn't kill me, exactly, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Now we know this to be the case, and this ultimately lies at the heart of the adaptation syndrome. So knowing how far you can take yourself into stimulation before it becomes unhealthy. A great analogy for this, and a great way for us to look at different stimulation levels from shock to adaptation to exhaustion, and helping you sort of maintain that moderate stress, Couch to 5K. Now this is such a fantastic program. People have put it together, really understand the benefits of incremental marginal gains, because effectively a Couch to 5K, you're not going to go out on day one and attempt 5K. No, all you're doing is moving your body 5 kilometers. You could do it, you could nail it in a day, but you would have taken your body into an exhaustion phase, and you wouldn't be developing in a sustainable way for you to do it consistently. So this is a perfect example of something where they take somebody and marginally increase the level of stimulation that they're applying to the body on a small incremental basis. This is a really healthy and sustainable way to do it. So if you've not had a look at it before, have a look at the Couch to 5K system. And again, a lot of the stuff I do in Stay Hungry Coaching all involves progressive overload of the system. It's all about whether it's more repetitions during a workout, whether it's more workouts during the day, whether it's reducing the time between exercises. There are so many elements and so many ways for us to incrementally improve fitness that it's never your resources, it's your resourcefulness. It's always your resourcefulness. You've got to make it work, whether that's from an equipment perspective, whether that's from an imagination perspective. We live in the most accessible world that's ever been available to us. Everything's there at the touch of a button to allow us to hunt these resources out. So I hope you've learned something about how your body gets better. I hope you've learned something about how every single workout you've ever done is exactly the same. And try and get your head around that one. I'm sure as soon as you say that sentence to somebody else, BS will be the first word that comes out of their mouths. But know that this is good. Know that this is healthy. Master your own stress so you can keep improving every day to the best version of yourself. Stay hungry, guys. See you soon.